Hi friends, it's Jenny Call, your online chaplain, and we are here today for Sanctuary. And I decided today we would record from my office because it is pouring down rain outside today, and my office has been a cozy spot to reflect and to just gain some needed perspective. So I welcome you to this time of sanctuary wherever you are. I hope that you are carving out a place of rest and renewal and comfort in a very challenging time. So as we're gathering here, I see people coming in and I welcome you. Hi Mary, hi Marilyn. I'm glad that you're here with us today and look forward to others joining in. I thought we'd just start off by checking in. So I invite you to comment if you want in the comments. How are you feeling today? Because I know each day can bring its own challenges, its own things of gratitude. We can be feeling a variety of ways at any point in time. I know that each day seems to bring new news. Here in Virginia, yesterday there was an announcement from the governor, a stay-at-home order that goes through June 10th. So that prolongs the time that we expect to be self-quarantined, to continue social distancing, and to try and flatten the curve and keep those of us who are well, particularly those that are more susceptible to getting sick, and to hopefully reduce the number and the spread of this virus. So I know that that brings opportunities and invitations to continue to find rest and to find new rhythms of life, and it could also bring challenges. I know that there are more announcements about plans being changed and canceled, and more on the way. I'm trying to figure out what this is going to look like for our move coming up, so that is an interesting thing to work through and not have the answers and have a lot of uncertainty around that. So I know that for our Holland students, it can be difficult as online classes started yesterday. So that's an entirely new way of learning and engaging for both students and faculty. A lot of us are trying to figure out this new technology, like I'm doing here as well. So it can add added stress and thinking in new ways. So again, that's always an opportunity with the challenge of that. I've been thinking a lot over the past week, just the toll that it takes just to do normal things. I've noticed that generally when I do a to-do list for the day, I could put a gazillion things on my to-do list. I like to be productive and check things off, but I've realized that I can only put about 4 things of significance on my to-do list, like the 4 big things that are meaningful to me that I want to accomplish, which may or may not happen. In these days where I have what would seem like more time, I'm finding that I'm actually able to do less. And I think it's just the weight of things being different and changing expectations. And so for some of us, that is part of this. There's a weariness and a grief and to the uncertainty. For others, I've seen there's a new energy and creativity. I've seen so many people doing great things online and really getting back into hobbies or trying new things. And so I think we can deal with this in a variety of ways, and it varies from day to day. I think for me, one of the things that I've realized is I like to focus a lot on meaning making, finding meaning in our stories, in our daily lives. And in a time like this, it can really be hard to find meaning. It can really be hard to understand why and what next, and all of those things that are outside of our capacity to understand. Which is where faith comes in. And so that should be a place that is comforting and familiar to me. but I think I wrestle with that. I like to have some way of making meaning of things that don't always seem to have a lot of meaning visible right now. So one of the things that I've started shifting in my own mindset is shifting from seeking meaning, trying to make meaning, trying to make sense of all of this, which, you know, is really difficult, if not impossible, to trying to find some sense of purpose in this. Finding what it is that I can actually do to make a difference. I've noticed in my days, the days where I've ended the day feeling more accomplished are the days that I connected with people in some way, from a distance, safely, or a day that I was able to help someone in some way, or a day when I was able to cross off something on my to-do list that wasn't just a menial task that I needed to get done, but really something that felt like there was, you know, some excitement around it, or it connected with something that was meaningful to me. So I'm wondering, for those of you that are watching, where are you finding purpose in your days? What are some things that you have done in this kind of weird liminal time that have helped you to feel productive or engaged or to find meaning in this time that's very strange? So I'll give you a minute if you want to comment ways that you've found purpose in these days, in this time. And welcome to Mary and to April. I'm glad that y'all are here with us too. April's been working on her thesis, and this is a really good time for that time for reflection and making meaning of your own story through important work. What are some other ways that y'all are finding purpose in your days? Spending time with Dexter. And one-on-one time. That is so important, to have that family time and connection that it is a very different rhythm of life than normal. You're still balancing school and family, being a mom and being a student, but are able to spend that time directly together, face to face. Helping your mom set up her online class. That's amazing. I'm sure helpful for her as well and appreciated. Taking care of a dog and doing chores. And I think those are really meaningful, that it's something that gets something accomplished, that you could see some tangible result. And with a dog, you definitely have the appreciation that comes from feeding and taking care of them. And also getting involved in online communities. I see that as well. Oh, and Megan, I'm glad that you're with us too. Cat cuddles, those are very good, comforting for both. So I'm glad, Kayla, you're with us as well. So, you know, that's one thing we're going to be talking about today, finding purpose in a time where it's difficult to find meaning. It's difficult to kind of connect with our normal routines. A lot has been written about the grief and the stress that comes with this time. I think for a lot of us, it's that sense of not being able to necessarily control our lives in the ways that we think we normally can. This kind of points out that illusion of control that I cling so tightly to, in thinking that I can order my day or my life in a certain way, and then coming to this point where so many future decisions are just unknown and things are on hold. I've seen friends this week that have had to postpone weddings. I have friends that have lost family members who have passed away and have not been able to have funerals and not be able to have that time to grieve. And I think just the daily stresses of figuring out how to work remotely or how to do classes online, how grades are going to be done, and will there be commencement, and when will it be, and all these things that you're working towards, which now we don't know. There are so many unknowns. I've also been looking to the things that I can control, which seem to be a smaller number of things. But there's also comfort in that, in knowing that maybe I don't have to control all the things I normally think I have to carry and handle, that those things are out of my hand right now. And so I could focus on the fewer things that are within my realm of control. And the one big thing with that is how I respond to this, how I daily choose to find meaning and purpose, and how I make choices, how I spend this time, the time that is within my control. So I think that kind of goes towards how we live out of our values. What is meaningful to us? And this time really helps us to focus on that. What really matters? So much is stripped away, and we're down to the basics of what is in our control and how are we going to live in a way that shows what matters to us. I wanted to read something from a clergy friend of mine who's also a coach, Marianne McKibben Dana, and I will post her information in the comments later on. But this was something that she wrote several years ago in a newsletter, and she was talking about hearing someone in a podcast read from a book talking about a character who was close to death and was reflecting on what mattered to him in his life. And so Marianne wrote her own poem of what matters, and I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm going to read some of these lines because I want you to begin kind of reflecting on what matters to you. And note some of these things seem to be small things. They're very daily, material things. Some of them are feelings. So as you hear this, I'm going to give you time afterwards to kind of write down and reflect on what matters to you. So if you have paper nearby or a phone that you can jot notes down on, you can do that. What Matters by Marianne McKibben Dana. The crinkles around my husband's eyes. The shower as hot as I can stand. The thin pink insole that slides into every brand new pair of running shoes. The dimple on my oldest daughter's cheek. The color blue on the walls in my study. The coarse earthiness of my son's tousle of hair. The hot sun slicing through a cold breeze. The plop of almond butter into the smoothie. Real butter melting unapologetically on the muffin or biscuit. The word yes from my mother's mouth. The assurance that we get better. The words that come, sometimes haltingly but reliably. The sacred text that will never stop revealing something new. The grapefruit half gleaming like a rose window. The acoustic dampening of a layer of snow. The text messages that pick up again no matter how much time has elapsed. Shade, sugar, mint, surprise. Any blue-green body of water. Long shadows, fireflies. The good question. Rambling stories. The fragrance emitted when bread is broken. Surprise tears. Views from any high place. The crowd in airport baggage claim clothed in hijab, dashiki, sari, turban, flip-flops, tattoos. A dead tree splayed open in an autopsy of decomposition. What matters to you? So if you have something to write with, I'm going to ask you to take just a minute and to write down what comes to your mind. When you think about what matters, what has meaning in your life, when everything else is stripped away, what does it come down to you for you? What does it come down to for you? So take a minute and write that down. I'm going to be writing my own list as you're doing it, and then, excuse me, maybe we'll share a few things in the comments of what matters to us. So if you've just joined us, we are writing what matters to us, the things that come to mind when we think of what we could not do without, the things that touch our hearts, that touch our lives, the things in which we find love and purpose and connection. I'll share a few of mine. Reading with my son in bed, TikToks sent for my daughter, long talks with my husband, cracking open a new book, writing down my thoughts, and ice cream. So will you share some of the things that you thought about that matter to you in the comments? These are things I think to think about in these days when much is out of our control, but we can choose to focus on the things that matter, like friends and brownies and music and books and Jesus. Fresh pages in your bullet journal, happy notes from the guinea pig dinner time with family, walks through the farmer's market on a sunny day, morning snuggles with Dexter and Dre, baking cookies and cinnamon rolls. These things are so full of sensory just goodness. Like I can imagine those things. Melty peanut butter in a warm bowl of oatmeal, virtual walks with aunt and mom. Those things that really make us feel like our truest selves, that connect us in a way to other people and connect us to our senses, that connect us to the core of who we are. Those are important things to remember, and a lot of these things are practices, right? They're things that we could do, whether it's eating or walking or writing or art or spending time with those we love. These are things that we can work into our lives on a daily basis, that we can choose to live with purpose because we remember what matters to us. And so I think on those days maybe where we're struggling a little bit more, when things feel a little more overwhelming and stressful, a good question to ask might be, how are we living out our values? How are we living out our connection to those things that matter most to us? All of these things that you mentioned and these people that matter, they're connected to core values we have, whether they're for connection or for nurturing, or for fun, or so many of these things help us to either engage our mind in learning and reading, engage our faith, our spirit, engage our heart through connections we make with people and our pets and those we love. Those show our values. And when we're living from those values and making an effort to connect with the people and things that matter to us, we have that sense of purpose. We're still going to have stress. Stress is a normal part of life, and stress is actually useful because it helps motivate us. It helps us, we can use it to be productive, to do things that matter. But we can also let stress stop us sometimes. We're afraid of failure, so it stops us from taking steps we need to take. And sometimes we're afraid of not doing well enough. We're afraid of failure. We have this perfectionistic struggle within us that makes us procrastinate because we're afraid to even try. So I think, being able to have a handle on stress so it's not controlling us or stopping us from living our best lives that we want to live, but using it to help us realize what is really meaningful to us. Are we stressed because we're afraid we're going to lose something that matters to us? Are we stressed because something's out of our control and that thing is really important to us? It helps sometimes point to what matters in our life, what is meaningful, and our values, so that we can, in every way we can, choose those things, to focus on those things in our life. Um, so in this time, I hope that we can live from our values, that we can remember what is meaningful and important to us, not in a sense of working harder to attain something or achieve something or produce something, but we can use this time to let us reflect on what is important so that we hold on to that in a way that's meaningful, that gives us purpose and gives us a sense of what we can control in our lives. And realize maybe that all the things that fill our minds with worry are not always the things that really matter. That those sometimes are things that we can let go of to focus on what is more important. So as we kind of prepare to close today, I wanted to end with one more kind of reflection thing. I'm a person that tends to think ahead to worst case scenario because I think I think sometimes that if I can think it through and I can plan for it and prevent it from happening, which is not really the case. Let me just be clear on that. But one of the things I've heard through this time is the importance of hanging on to hope and actually practicing hope. That instead of thinking worst case scenarios, we can actually imagine what could go well. What is the best case scenario? So I'd like us to close with that today as an act of hope and faith. So as you are anticipating having maybe a couple more months of time that's kind of disordered, that's different from the norm, what is the best thing that you can hope for in this time? How can you imagine the best case scenario? On the other side of this, how would you like to remember this time and remember how you engaged and how you coped, and not even coped, but how you thrived and flourished during this time? So we're going to end with that question. What is the best case scenario that you can imagine for yourself after going through the next couple of months? So if you want to share that in the comments, you are welcome to do so. I'll give you a minute to kind of think about that as we close. It's been good to have this time to be together, and I appreciate you sharing in the comments, and I appreciate those of you that will watch this later on, and hope that you will also add your thoughts in the comments so that we can continue to have this ongoing engagement and community, even in a different way. So I hope that you continue to find sanctuary, that you continue to find what really matters in your life, and to make space for that, and to focus on that. So Mary's best case scenario imagining is stronger connections with friends and self-study and reflection. And what a good use of this time to think about connecting with others, and then also connecting inside with reflecting on what is meaningful to us and using that time for growth and reflection. So as we close today, I hope that you will continue to reflect on what matters to you and how to live out of those values. And I hope that there will be many times where you will really live out of your imagination and make the best use of this time to care for yourself and to care for those that matter a lot to you. So be well, my friends. I look forward to connecting with you again next time, and I hope that you know that you are loved, and that you find sanctuary wherever you may be. Take care.